So friends, as promised, I am back with this part of the presentation, and today we will study the research design, the second presentation in this series of presentations on business research, and we are now studying research design. In the previous video, we have seen detailed about the causal research, and today we will settle it down with descriptive research. So here we go. So let us have a formal definition of descriptive research, and descriptive research is generally used to describe the different characteristics of the matter which we are going to study. Here in this case, since we are concentrating on market research, so descriptive statistics here will be describing different characteristics or functions in relation to market design. And to estimate the proportion of individuals in a given population exhibiting a particular behavior, this is a very good example of the application of descriptive research design. To determine the perception of that people have in connection to the different products and services that they consume, these also are different ways in which under which research, descriptive research actually studies this type of things, and to determine the degree to which the market variables are associated with each other. So these are some of the important domains of descriptive research design, or descriptive research design can thus be successfully applied to achieve many of such important domains of study. It makes very specific predictions, and so this can be used to forecast what is going to happen in future. Descriptive research, if we want to see the highlights, the main basic objective of a descriptive research design is to attain and describe the different market characteristics. These characteristics prior to the formulation of specific hypothesis, pre-planned and structured design. The methods of this design comprises of collection of primary data or secondary data, and also sometimes we go down and study panel data under descriptive research design. So this is basically descriptive research design. Descriptive research design is further divided into two big groups, and that is called as processional design and longitudinal design. So let us first look at longitudinal design. This obviously comes under descriptive research design. Now in longitudinal design, a fixed sample is collected and are measured repeatedly on the same variables after a fixed or a variable time period. That means either the time period may be fixed or the time period may vary also. And after each time period, after the time period, the same group of individuals are studied again, and then after a time period studied again, and then after a time period studied again. That means same group of subjects or individuals are there. Maybe an example we can take that we want to see the consumption pattern of a group of individuals. So group of individuals we identify, or group of households we identify, and then may be after 2 months, then after 4 months, then after 8 months, then after a year, we actually keep on contacting them and collect similar type of information. Why you do this? We can understand that over a period of time how their consumption pattern is varying. Because you see of late in the last 2 years we have seen an enormous expansion, increase in the prices of commodities, starting from the price of petrol to all the essential commodities including medicine, everything price was increased, and especially during the time of Corona when production was bare minimum, this has raised much higher owing to large amount of demand in different some of the sectors. Now this is one interesting finding, that how people are actually behaving as the prices of things are changing. So we study this on a same group of individual or maybe a group of household after some time period, which may be fixed or may be a variable. But once the group remains fixed, so all such studies made after small time gaps. So this is the concept of longitudinal design. It gives us an in-depth picture of how changes in a given sample takes place with as time progresses. There is a problem with this implementing this type of design, and it is that there might be some refusal to cooperate, because if you keep on asking similar type of questions to a group of individuals, After a time gap of 2 months, then say 3 months, then 7 months, then people at some stage may withdraw from the survey and may find that it is monotonous to give similar type of information. And many a times when their values does not change, like consumption pattern does not change, they don't find any meaning of providing this information. Also, sometimes happens that some individuals may die and may perish from the study. So the study area or the number of individuals contacted in every survey keeps on decreasing because of mobility or because of mortality. Sometimes for providing the similar type of information and motivate the respondents, the researcher might have offered them some amount of compensation like money. Example we can take about your consumption of the staple goods that you consume over a period of time. You see your staple goods might be changing also. I mean to say the brand might change. You may with a higher income, you may also settle down for more expensive products than buying less priced products. So now if we go back to this previously, after that longitudinal design, let us go back to study the now longitudinal design. So we have understood. Now let us look at the cross-sectional design. In this type of design, the information may be any unit in the sample is collected only once. So here we have a population. From the population we select sample, and from the selected respondents of the sample we collect information only once. There may be either a single cross-sectional design in which only one sample of respondent is collected from a population and information are collected from them only once. So we have two types of cross-sectional design. One is single cross-sectional design, one is multiple cross-sectional design. In multiple cross-sectional design, we collect multiple samples, might be from different geographical area, and we perform study on them only once, not repetition, but the zones might be different. Or a single cross-sectional design in which only one sample is collected and all the respondents of the sample are interviewed and information collected from them only once. So both way this is possible. Cross-sectional design, yes, I have already discussed about the multiple cross-sectional design. So this is generally done, multiple cross-sectional design, if you want to compare between different geographical area or different groups of customers to understand how their purchase pattern or behavioral pattern or their attitude towards products, etc. varies. This comes for the purpose of comparison. So that is about cross-sectional design, multiple cross-sectional design. When comparison is necessary, then we go for this. So already we had a so here we have a comparison between a single and a multiple cross-sectional design. In a single cross-sectional design, only one sample of respondents is drawn. Information from each sampling unit is obtained only once, and the features of interest can be studied only at the absolute level. That means we have studied, this is what result we have got. That means obviously, since only one sample is studied, there is no point or no way you can go on with a comparison. However, in multiple cross-sectional design, there are at least two samples. There can be more samples also. In information from each sampling unit is obtained only once, and the aggregate of values of the different samples can be brought into a comparison. So this can be done for a multiple cross-sectional design. Ultimately, under multiple cross-sectional design, we had another option, cohort analysis. Let us look at it. This type of multiple cross-sectional design study, where the cohort population is studied at two or more time points, that is age cohort or birth cohort. That means we study as a age cohort. Age cohort means a group of people who are having the same age, or a birth cohort like a group of people who have taken birth on a particular day. So there is a huge population, and this population we keep on studying subsequently after a generally after a uniform time gap. Say we study it after at the end of 1 year, then after another year, second year, then at the end of third year, like this. So what will happen? This population will keep on decreasing because it is a cohort. So we start with a fixed population, and that nobody from outside the population is allowed to enter once the study starts. So we start with generally we start with a multiple of 100, that is maybe 1,000, 10,000 like this. So we start our study with 10,000 people who are all born in a particular day. Now, as time goes on, these people will either face mortality or might migrate also to other places. So my sample size or the study size will keep on decreasing in time, and we can find out how they perish over a long period of time. If some cohort of individuals are studied, so changes and tastes and habits of the time can be determined. So this way that when actually their taste is trying to change, taste is changing, and how they are behaving. So these type of things along with age this can be understood. The actual individual changes, but the cohort remains the same. George Gallup, who specializes in voting behavior, periodically questioned cohort of voters about their voting preference to predict election results. For example, suppose in our country, elections are quite often held. After every 2 or 3 years, we will find there is an election. Sometimes there is a central government election, that means Lok Sabha election, and sometimes for the state legislative assembly. So most of the states in India, they don't have both the elections are supposed to be held after every 5 years if normal situation persists. But they are never held together. Most of the states do not held the Lok Sabha elections and the Vidhan Sabha elections are not held together. And accidentally in some states it happens, but generally it doesn't happen. So there are separate times of getting this election taking place. Where actually these are general elections, everyone participates in the election, votes in the election. And in such elections are generally so 2 5 years at a space of 5 years, but since the time does not match, so every third year or every second year we have the election. Now, if we study that a group of individuals, we don't change them. Let the group remain fixed. Let us start with say 10,000 people. At these 10,000 people, we contact before every election that this time whom you are going to vote. Or just after election, we ask them, okay, now the result is declared, etc. Please tell me whom you have voted, these 10,000 people. So then again next election comes, after that I once again ask. Then next election comes, after that I once again ask these individuals. Now obviously 10,000 people may not remain. Some of them will die, some of them may migrate to some other place, etc. This will happen. So we start with 10,000, but every time we may not reach 10,000. Sometimes we may reach to collect information about 9,900 people. Next time it may be 8,900 people. Like this, the number of people keeps on decreasing every time and decreasing and decreasing. So this way, but then we have a significant number of people every time we perform the study. Now what happens? This will help us to understand that how the voting behavior changes of a group of people. Similarly, we can think of performing some studies related to consumption pattern. We can use the studies, how these studies will help us to tell that how people are reacting to change in prices if we want to study about a consumption pattern. So this way we actually study a group of individuals in order to understand that how their taste and habits influence on their responses or their attitude towards products or services. So that's why cohort analysis is sometimes very interesting. Now you see, you can also study in this way. Suppose we study a group of people who actually invest in share market. So this is our cohort study. Now we keep on studying them after some regular intervals, say after 6 months, and see how much, whether their investment, they are increasing their investment of share market, or they are losing their interest in share market. And if they are losing, why they are losing. So these will result into some interesting findings when we can study a cohort. But obviously there will be some problems in studying the cohort, because cohorts are actually difficult to maintain. The cohort, keep them together, keep connected, because you have no option of replacing them. So that is one difficulty with cohort analysis, but it gives us some in-depth analysis results. So I think this is all about this type of research design, that different types of research design we have seen, and we have to read little bit more in order to know more about research design. I would recommend that you read about the marketing research and applied orientation by Malhotra and Das. That book will give you some more view on different types of research design. So till this point of time, let me bid goodbye to you, and we will come up next week with some more videos on marketing research. Thank you. All the best.